Hello learner, in this video tutorial we'll learn about the keywords, then variables and then data types. So first start with keyword. What is keyword? So basically each and every language program has some reserved words, that has a special meaning to the compiler, and compiler understands that meaning. So it's been already predefined. Okay, so those are the words, reserved words are called keywords. Every program has it. C is not an exception. So C also has the keywords, right? So for our previous example in the Hello World program, we have seen that we have used the void. Do you remember that we have used void main? So void is a keyword. Similarly, there are 32 keywords have been defined in C, and this is the list of all the keywords that you can go through. But we will discuss each and every keyword when the context will come, not now, okay? Because it will be difficult for you to understand each and everything for time being. Just hold it for time being, and we'll learn it when the context of each and every body's things will come. Each and every keyword will come into picture. Okay, now variables. What are the variable? What is a variable? As I have told you earlier, that a constant has a value which never changes, but a variable is an entity that allows to change its value, and it's very useful. Each and every program will require a variable to be defined, and its value needs to be changed based on the programming that you are doing. But remember that variable has a particular name and a value, and that value can be of integer type, it can be a floating type, or it can be a character type, which is called actually data type, and we'll discuss data type in the later part of this video. Okay, so there are some rules to construct when you are actually defining the variable name. So the rules, for the first rule is, the variable name must be a combination of 1 to 31 alphabets, digits or underscores, and then the first character in the variable name must be an alphabet or an underscore. It cannot be a numeric value. So and no commas or blanks are allowed within a variable name. This is the point number 3. And then no special symbol other than underscore is allowed in a variable name. Okay. So for an example, a variable name can be X, or it can be a little bit bigger, like rate underscore of underscore interest, or it can be SI underscore int, or it can be X1 to 3. It can be X1, X2, something like that also. Okay. So that is how we define a variable in C program. We basically name a variable in C program. Now, how do we declare the variable in C program? So in C program, basically the variable is declared with this syntax, the data type of the variable and the variable name. We know how a variable name, what are the rules a variable name can consist of. So that name is associated with a data type. What is a data type? We'll discuss it just after this variable declaration part. So normally, if you want to declare a variable of integer type, so normally int x then semicolon is been given. Okay, and another way of presenting variable is int y is equal to 10. Here you are declaring the variable as well as assigning the value 10 to this variable y. Okay, and again rate of interest, you can declare it as int rate of interest. Okay, so now let's see what happens in the memory when you declare a variable. Now let's take an example of variable is something like, we are declaring a variable something like int x is equal to 3. In one statement, we are declaring a variable as well as we are assigning the value 3. So normally what happens when you declare a variable int x? What happens over here is, in the memory location, if you remember correctly, that we have discussed that your computer memory has multiple bytes. So each and every byte can store data, and that is from 0 to 255. So each and every byte. So whenever you declare a variable based on the data type, the variable storage in the memory location has been reserved. So for example, this is an int variable. So for an int variable, a 2 bytes of data is stored when you have a 16-bit computer. Okay, but if you have 64-bit or 32-bit computer, this memory location will take 4 bytes. So let's assume that it's taking 2 bytes for integer variable. So 2 bytes of memory location is been stored, and let's depict this as my memory location, and then it will have a location name which is x, because x is my variable name, right? And it will have a memory address. So as we have discussed, each and every byte in the memory will have an address assigned to it. So normally, since this is a 2 bytes, so normally this will be 65514 and this will be 65515. Normally this is how the things will happen, but we cannot take both the address, right? Because whole 2 byte has to be represented by a single address. That is why the first byte address is been taken. Okay, and then when we have a value something like int x is equal to 3, what does it means is we are assigning the value 3 over here. So that means this value 3 is get assigned into that particular location. And remember, of course, it's not the decimal 3, it's the binary form of 3 in 2 bytes area that gets stored, which will be something like the 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, okay, 11 12 13, then 1 0 1. So this is the 16-bit representation of decimal value 3. So this many for 16-bit, which is 2 bytes data, so 3 is being covered into that 16-bit area like this. Okay, so this is how the internally, whenever you declare a variable, these things happen internally. Okay, but remember one thing, this is very much important, the value part and also the address part. Address part is not important now, because address part will come into picture when we will be discussing about the pointers or the arrays. But right now, think about this. Whenever you declare a variable, the memory space has assigned a name, and then whatever the value that you are assigning to that particular variable, that value got stored into that particular box of the memory. Okay, so now the data types we are discussing here is, I have seen in the variable declaration, our variable declaration always follows by a data type. For example, int x that we have written, right? So here int is an integer type data type. So x is a variable which is of integer data type. It means that. So a data type is very much necessary to let the compiler know that what kind of data that we are storing into that particular variable. So there are many data types available in C. First one is int, which is integer. Then float. Float means a floating point value which has a number with a fractional part. But integer is a whole number. It doesn't have any fractional part. For example, 10, or 20. But fractional part is something like 10.5, 11.7, something like that. 11.7. Okay. Now double has a precision floating point value. Double precision floating point value. A character is a single character, as we know, like A, B, C, something like that. And void is there is no data type. It's a valueless special purpose type which we'll examine closely in later sections. So normally these are the basic data types available in C. There are many more which we'll discuss details when we will discuss data types. Think about one thing, that each and every data type takes a certain amount of memory location. For example, let's assume that you are using a 16-bit computer. Okay, so what happens for the integer? So integer takes 2 bytes of data. Okay, float takes 4 bytes. Okay, and then char takes 1 byte. 1 byte of data. Okay, so this is how the memory got allocated based on the data type. So what happens, as you know that what happens to the memory when you write something like float y. What happened immediately is, in your computer memory, a 4 bytes of memory got allocated. Okay, it's a 4 byte memory got, and the name is assigned to this memory block is y. Okay, and obviously it will have a memory location. Let's assume that it is something like 70005. Let's assume that. Okay, so this is how the things will happen in computer memory when you will have a data type declared as a variable declared as a float. Thank you for watching this video.